You're listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast, discussing all aspects of precision and long-range rifle shooting. This episode is brought to you by Impact Dynamics. And now, over to your host.
Well, hello and welcome to the Precision Shooting Podcast. This is episode number 159. My name is Rusty. Sitting opposite me, Plushy. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Rusty.
Yeah, no Andy tonight. Got rid of him. You rage quit last. No. So we'll get on to Andy shortly. But how are you doing?
Doing well, mate. It's been a while since I've been here. Things have changed.
It's been a long time since you've been on the podcast, I reckon.
You've bought more cameras.
We have. Speaking of cameras, Josh is here.
I know you can see me tonight.
Okay.
I
can see you, but no one else can see you.
It's a difference.
Josh's his face remains a mystery to the podcast listeners.
Yes,
probably
we'll
because
keep
they're
it that
listeners
way.
and they can't see us. Maybe the guys who watch on YouTube. Maybe we'll break something so he has to come around this side and plug it back in or something.
Well, in other news, the podcast table's back.
Oh, yeah. You raise a really good point. We have a new and improved, upgraded podcast table from the one that I broke last time. So we have now a full metal, like girder-filled frame that's effectively pallet racking on wheels. Well,
I think there's a sticker on here that says rated to 2,000 kilos. I think we're good.
You are correct. We can perform all sorts of activities on this desk.
No, we can't. They're banning OnlyFans content.
Oh, yeah. That's not until October. So get in quick.
There's time.
Make some money while you can. Now, you're speaking of OnlyFans, you're what are you drinking there? Because it's got a dude with a killer afro on the front of it. If anyone, there we go. Shine that up to that camera. Who is that? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
it's local and it's by Little Bangs, but
you're just putting your mouth around someone's hair that you don't know.
Not for the first time.
Ginger. Like, come on, there must be quality.
It is a Ranger afro. That's it, mate. That's it. Very good. So the true story is Andy's in quarantine, although he potentially may be out at any moment. Did they make an announcement yet, or was there a time on it? Because the boys, a bunch of them went to Darwin, and we were going to go to Darwin, and I guess we got some explaining to do because we're not in quarantine.
Yeah, it's great.
So we were all set to go to Darwin. We were all set to go to Darwin for a week, like do a week drive. Oh, you were bailing on that, but we were going to do a week drive up. I think we covered that last time that we canned that and we're just going to fly and fly out because the risk of being away for an extended period of time is a bit too high. And the match went ahead up in Darwin with Butters at the helm. It dropped off as a PRS match because there was too many people couldn't make it because of various lockdowns around the country, sort of hit a threshold. So they decided to run as a club match, which I'm super glad they did because people need an opportunity to shoot.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, it was an excellent match. I mean, not surprised the Darwin mob know how to run a match. Have you shot in Darwin yet?
No, it's on my to-do list, and I've bailed 2 years in a row now.
You and me both. About 3 years in a row, actually.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, first one was a back injury. But
they still had pretty healthy attendance.
Yeah, 26, I think, ended up shooting. I could have that number off by a couple, but around 26, 27, something along those lines, which is excellent, which is really good.
Yeah, there was a big South Aussie contingent. I think there was almost 10 people, I think, from South Australia went up.
You're right.
Near on, yeah. I think there wasn't many. You and I pulled out.
Yeah.
Dave, Taylor and Nick, and not many more, I think.
Yeah, I think one or two others, but still quite a few crew were able to go up. But on the Monday of after the match, and so no doubt we'll hit Andy up for the match wrap up next time round. And of course, there's consequences because I didn't go, so I've probably got some guns to clean. So I mean, I'm just going to stop returning Andy's call, I think.
Well, there were some photos that he sent mid-match and he probably could have cleaned his gun before he went by the sound of things.
That's right. He had some problems there. But anyway, so there's all those repercussions to come about. But I thought we would now I've completely lost topic of where we're going. But you're here, and so we're going to talk about some other bits and pieces. We'll get the full breakdown of the match. But yeah, those guys were in quarantine. I think they all decided to just hang out together for a couple of days while they were in quarantine.
I think they had an empty house and they all decided to quarantine together. It was a pretty nice thing to do for their families as well. Quarantine together and not make anybody else suffer.
Well, this is true, and there's some amusing photos. Oh yeah, no, sorry. On the Monday, Darwin went into lockdown. That's the bit we missed, isn't it? The actual facts of what went down.
Well, there's a group chat for all the guys that were going to go to Darwin, and I know you and I were very sympathetic in the group chat. I think I might have messaged you separately and go, geez, glad I didn't go to Darwin.
Yeah, so unfortunately Monday, Darwin went into lockdown. Of course, they backdated it to the 12th. So pretty much everyone who had been was affected in some way, which is obviously part of the reason of cancelling as a PRS, because you don't want to have. Yeah, there's always a challenge of that effect, and we've been caught. Josh and I have been caught by that not long ago, and. Yeah, so a number of them got caught. They were in good spirits, and the good thing is that Darwin got on top of it and got out of lockdown, and therefore this crew won't have to do their full 14 days. They'll do a shorter period of time. But in fact, we should check in with Andy, see if we can get him on the phone. Haven't actually told him we were going to call him, but let's
put him on the spot.
Let's put him on the spot. You got that dialing in there? Yeah, there we go. All right, let's see what he's doing. He might still be in the house hanging out with everyone, or he could be out.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, mate, you're on the podcast. How are you?
Oh, it's about time I'm on the podcast. He's just sitting here doing nothing.
What? How you been? As Plushy's here as well, and Josh as well.
Hey, how you going, guys?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, well, you've been replaced apparently.
Yeah. We came back and had to play some music, I guess.
Yeah. So, are you still currently quarantining, or are you permitted out yet?
Yeah, well, we've pretty much just got the word this evening that we can head out and our quarantine is finished. So we thought we'd spend the last night here, have a bit of a pack up and a tidy up and watch the footy. And tomorrow morning we'll make the track.
Pack up and tidy up. I know what that means. That means you're about 13 beers deep by now. Yeah. Okay. So tell us, briefly about the match. Obviously, we'll go in detail when you get back on it. But good match.
Yep. Yeah, it was a really good match. Yeah. Butters have definitely put some pretty interesting stages together. Quite challenging, but really fun at the same time. So, as you guys have known, Butters, he loves his unsupported sort of sling work, and there was a bit of that.
No, he doesn't love it, but he loves making everyone else do it.
Yeah, that's it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice, and we did actually get a pretty good turnout. I think there was 27 people all up.
I wasn't far off. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really cool. It was a bit more laid back, a bit more chill, but still really friendly, still competitive. But yeah, it was really good.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. And so there's a bunch of you all hanging out together, living on top of each other. How do you reckon that would have gone after 14 days? Just curiosity.
I think we're just that sort of group of guys that would be fine. Yeah, I mean, it's been.
You're lying. It's drama already.
Come on, give us the goss.
We're on the real deal.
Which bromance has blossomed, and who did you want to bury in the backyard? Come on, give us the goss.
Break it down for us, Andy.
Now, all of our bromances have blossomed.
It's been communal, right? Have you guys now? Do you guys realise the OnlyFans you started? It has to close up by October. So just giving you the heads up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so you got a few months.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, no, we're making pretty good use of
OnlyFans while it's open. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that?
Nothing. Carry on. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say we've actually made pretty good use. We were able to get some of my cleaning gear and a decapping dye and press dropped off and that sort of stuff. So we've all decapped and cleaned all of our brass. And
so what you're saying is your guns don't need any cleaning. Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't get cleaning stuff dropped off. That'd be ridiculous.
Be there in 10 minutes. Oh, well, I guess we got that to come back to, and it's all right.
But no, I do have an interesting story to talk about next time about cleaning situation.
Oh, yes, you had some challenges during the match, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, which I hadn't experienced before. So, it was interesting.
All right, well, we look forward to that lesson next time, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely.
Very good. Well, enjoy your last evening hanging out with the lads and making content, and we will catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so this has probably been the most amount of dry fire we've all done ever.
Plushy's not taking that one. All right, we'll see you later, Andy. You're breaking up. You're breaking up, mate. All right, there we go. Good. I'm glad they're enjoying themselves. I'm glad you're here, Plushy. You've bring another dimension to the discussion. So, mate, what we had topics we were going to talk about. Now I've forgotten them all. So
I went to write a list, but then I didn't.
I love the preparation. Hey, so for those who don't know, Plushy shot a number of PRS. How many PRS matches have you shot now?
Not that many.
Not that many.
What have we got?
4 or 5.
Monardo times 2.
Yep.
Little River, Buchan, Finale.
Yep. 4 or 5.
I think that's
Something
it.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
okay.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're dominating or you continue to dominate at the club level with us.
Only at Centerfire this year. I haven't
you
been
dropped
paying
off
much.
in rim.
I've not been actually, to be honest. The only time I shoot my rimfire now is at the competitions, and it's showing.
Okay. So you're not seeing that underlying effect.
I'm not sure if I've lost a Centerfire match this year.
Oh, just a little bit of a flex. Why not? Let's just
Okay.
stretch
Maybe
that
one.
one out. Oh.
Maybe one.
Maybe
Yeah,
haven't
I can't
lost
remember.
the centre fire. There's a bit of
Yeah.
a gauntlet thrown down to the Monardo boys. Yeah. Oh, well, that's all right, mate. So you're a good shooter, which is awesome, and I thought we'd ping a few questions your way. But one of the things that came up today on our YouTube channel, actually, was a comment about, they're talking to me, they're saying, I see a lot of the range, but curious how you see PRS relates into the hunting world and vice versa. And I know this is something you've got experience with because you like going hunting and you're obviously heavily in the PRS world and quite good at it. I'm curious to your thoughts to that question, open-ended, but also, have you seen an uplift in your skills in the hunting world, or tell me about your relationship between both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that goes back to the beginning of PRS for me. I did a lot of, not as much as I don't think anyone ever does as much hunting as they want to, but spotlighting and hunting, I did a fair bit of it.
Yep.
And I looked at PRS, in the early days it wasn't even PRS, but
yep.
I looked at it and thought, geez, that's pretty similar to spotlighting slash hunting. It's improvised positions and it's time critical and all those sort of things. And I started doing it, and now I don't go spotlighting or hunting, and I shoot PRS. But to answer your question, that it makes me a better hunter slash shooter in general because I can build an improvised position with not much equipment. I take a rifle and a bag of some description, and I can shoot almost anything. And I know I can hit 500 metres and in pretty much give or take every time.
Pretty consistently.
Consistently, yeah, that's the word.
Especially,
And whether it's the top of a fence post or the top of a star picket off a piece of wire or out of the fork of a tree or across the bonnet or any of those sort of positions that you're likely to encounter out in the field. It doesn't faze me, whereas previously I'd be looking for places to put my bipod down. Where can I get my bipod down? Like I've got to have a steady shooting position. It doesn't matter now. And even some of the things you take with you, like now you go bunny shooting and I'll take a tripod with me because it's a really stable position. Yep. And you're up above the grass, so you're shooting down into things. It's really good. Yeah. So I would say that it's if you were a hunter or a spotlighter looking to improve your skills, PRS is probably the best way to do that.
I think one of the things that I've seen, like you, I particularly pre-kids, I shot a lot. I think Dutchie and I, who was previous on this podcast, he and I used to shoot all the time. I think we kept records of something around 26, 27, 28 hunting trips a year. We were literally every second weekend off somewhere for either a night, 2 nights, or the full weekend. No, that's 2 nights. Could be longer, long weekends and that sort of year. Every opportunity we'd have, we'd bid out foxes and bunnies and roo contracts and all that sort of stuff. And I remember, looking at guys coming into PRS and whatever your skill set is, it certainly builds on it. And so you'd see some guys who've been shooting for a long time. They've been on properties and they're in their 50s, and you just see them handle a gun. It's all just second nature for them, and just they build that position really quickly, and they pull some shots off that you're like, how did you do that? And then what I've seen competition shooting doing, just generically saying competition shooting, it obviously makes you repeat those motions, those actions on a regular basis, on a really consistent basis. And so you are thousands of repetitions further along than if you weren't doing that.
Yeah.
And so when the way that plays out when you're hunting is that you close the bolt quicker, you get on target quicker, you do these things quicker. And I see that you end up with what can take 20 years hunting. You build lots of those skills, and be clear, the shooting skills, because there's other skills with hunting that you don't build doing competition. But you build those skills a lot quicker in a lot more condensed an environment. And then I think that what you talk about there with, your sort of adaptability, because you might look at a PRS stage in isolation or even a competition and be like, these aren't specifically real world. Like I've never encountered that. While it may not be specifically that way, the problem solving that you develop and the ability to adapt to a position that is not great, or the ability to make a bag work in a ton of different situations. And I remember Andy, when the last episode was talking about using a bag, going back to a single bag and being able to get to really, really efficient with a single bag. And so being able to sort of apply these skills that may appear a little bit outside of hunting and spotlighting and stuff, but then there's a core element to them that certainly has a significant impact on your ability.
Definitely, there's the other one you add into it where you start shooting PRS and then all of a sudden your holdovers and your elevations and your wing calls and all these sorts of things you have to be on top of, or you're not going to hit targets. You go out spotlighting, like I go out spotlighting with some of the guys from the club, and I can tell you don't want to mess around when you're you're out with the guys, because if you take more than 2 seconds to get a sight picture and take a shot, you're not gonna get a shot.
Yeah, very quiet night.
That's right. You really, those skills where sometimes you'd be out, you're looking for foxes and you'd be like, you're waiting for the perfect shot. You don't need to wait for the perfect shot when it's day in, day out what you're doing. You're like, that's a good shot for me. Yeah. And you take it. But then like at night time you're like, oh, how far is that? 200 metres. You don't have to look, what's my holdover, or do I aim at the ears, or do I aim at, what am I aiming at? You just know that, okay, that's half a mil high or something like that.
Because you have shot 200 targets so many times on such a regular basis. Yep. It becomes very, very second nature. And while it's different, we will certainly admit it's a different feel, it's a different application, it's a different scenario. But those core element skills will translate over.
Even lately we've been playing around when we go out shooting and hunting. Quite a few of us have got laser rangefinders now with Bluetooth. We've got Kestrels, we've got Kestrel HUDs and stuff like that, which all helps a lot for the PRS shooting. But now we go out and set ourselves up in a paddock somewhere, and you can operate as a shooter spotter situation, and you've got your laser rangefinder and you're ranging the target, and then all of a sudden the shooter's got the wind call, they've got the elevation, they've got everything at their fingertips. Yeah, and you become an effective hunting team, and you can really make some very effective shots.
And it can sound to someone who's not operating in that world, that requires a lot of effort to get to that point, in terms of like, you get out there and you put your mat down and you get your gun down and then you get connect your Bluetooth up, and then it didn't pair properly, but because you use this equipment and gear on a monthly, weekly, whatever basis it might be, that all becomes very, very basic and very natural.
Absolutely. I mean, even going like now we go spotlighting, like I go out with one guy a lot, and we'll have the passengers got a rifle ready to go, hanging out the window. I mean, we've been using our competition rifles lately. Yeah, worked up a lighter, faster load that works on foxes or rabbits or whatever. Sure. And you've got a game changer or something out the window. You've got your target rifle on there. You go over bumps. Like previously, you'd have to hang on pretty tight to your rifle and stuff like that, or you might lose it. But it just sits out the window and it doesn't move. And you what was maybe not the greatest shot before out of a window, you're a bit wobbly. Now it's 3 points of contact. It's you can make a shot at 500 metres, no problems. But when we go out now, we quite often, the driver will have a rifle on the back seat, obviously safely, but we'll pull up and our deployment time is so quick that the passenger can get ready and then the driver gets ready, and all of a sudden you're both shooting. And that's all because of that PRSy stuff where you can be 10 seconds, you're on, your rifle's in position, you know what you're doing, you're ready to take a shot. So it can really improve.
Now, you mentioned there that you're using competition rigs often for your spotlighting stuff. Now, how do you go with the weight of that? Is the weight of the gun prohibitive, or does it have an effect at all that's worth mentioning?
I mean, opening gates is not fun.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're storing a rifle in the footwell or something like that and moving it between a window, not so great. Okay. Once it's out the window and you're in position, it's better. Yep. It just doesn't move. It's our rifles are really well balanced.
Yes.
So you can basically just sit there and you can observe. You can take your time if you need to. and make a good shot. It's not questionable. There's no wobble. You're not like, is this ethical or not ethical at all? It's just you take your time. You can get a good shot off.
All set up. Now, I know you mentioned that you don't hunt on a big regular basis, but you, if you were in a position, let's say you bought a property or you moved out to a farm or something along those lines, and now spotlighting was going to be a weekly occurrence for you, for example, and you're going to step either back a little bit from or from competition shooting, which a lot of the guys at the club would be happy for. But anyway, they let's say you were going to do that, and you were going to, now that you have had that experience in the competition world, what would you put together in terms of equipment for that? Like, obviously, I'm guessing you wouldn't run your comp gun because there's a few scenarios where it's less ideal, and you were going to, you're comfortable putting some money into a spotlighting dedicated rig. What would change?
That's a good question.
Thanks.
It depends on the end purpose. If you're going to be hanging out a window 100% of the time, there's no reason to change anything, I don't think.
Okay.
If it's a supported position.
Yep.
If you're going to start carrying that thing through paddocks and then, hunt with a hand torch or something like that, or a thermal or something on those lines, then a lot would change.
Okay.
I'd be looking at potentially like a carbon fibre barrel.
Okay.
So still heavy profile.
Yes.
But you've still got the rigidity that comes with a decent profile barrel.
Yep.
Carbon fibre, stock, lighter scope, that type of stuff. A 4 kilo hunting rifle that you can then a bit of a dual purposey type situation. I've got one of those exact things.
Okay. What's that set up?
It's a 300 Win Mag ticker in one of the Spawnies Precision Defence Industries carbon fibre stock.
Yep.
Just a stock ticker 300 Win Mag.
Yep. That's a bolly stock.
That's the one, bolly stock. I've had it inletted to take the Atlas Works long action, so I can actually feed a proper
300.
Yeah, I shoot
Ticker.
depending on what I'm doing, but up to 210 grains, and they feed out of a mag.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome.
So that's my go-to sort of. We were going to go to Victoria before Bucking got cancelled. We had comp guns in the car, and we also had hunting rifles. We were going to stay on and go hunting for sambar, hopefully. But
right.
That
Have you ever
through.
Shot sambar before?
Never. That was going to be the first time.
Yeah. Okay. First attempt anyway.
Well, no. we were going to succeed, Rusty.
I believe in your confidence. Yeah. I've been listening to this little shout out. I've been listening to the Errol Mason interview from the Hunting HQ boys.
Yes,
they did with Errol Mason, who's written in The Secret of the Sambar course. Or anyway, that I'll get it all the names wrong, but that's been a really interesting podcast and learning about that. It's a world that I'm not. I know about. I'm definitely not deep into, and obviously those boys are really, really into it.
Well, I think they learnt potentially the hard way.
They did.
That they're going in with not no knowledge, but maybe the wrong knowledge.
Yeah.
Didn't work out for them.
Yep. So how are you boys going to go?
Well, basically, like you do on PRS, we were just going to buy impacts. All of the expensive gear.
Just like
it has to happen, doesn't it?
Sure.
Now we'd spend a bit of time.
Sample work.
We'd spent quite a bit of time on Google Maps or Google Earth.
Okay.
And the country we're going to was quite. It's actually quite thick, especially after being burnt out a year or 2 years ago, maybe.
2020 with the fires. Yeah, so a year and a half ago.
So, that was quite the regrowth was pretty bad. And we spoke to Borny that has the Precision Defence Industries, the bolly stuff.
Yep.
Got his advice. He's an avid sambar hunter.
Certainly.
Got some advice from him, and he suggested that we the bush is too thick to sort of in that area. You're not going to get anything probably further than 30 or 50 metre shot.
Yeah.
So he suggests you find some clearings, scout the clearings, and then go and observe the clearings at dawn and dusk and stuff like that.
Okay.
That was the plan. I don't know if it was going to work or not.
Certainly the plan. Certainly the goal.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I think harping back to your original question, the one thing that I've learned from PRS is there isn't a gun that does everything. I've had better success and more probably enjoyment from building a gun for a purpose.
Sure. Yeah.
And then that's what you use it for. If you want to do something else, you go get this one, or that. That's really worked well for me.
Yeah.
There isn't an all-purpose do everything setup.
I certainly have that conversation with customers quite regularly, because a lot of guys are buying their first gun, which is awesome. They're trying to hybrid a lot of things together, and so I often ask about what are you going to use for 80% of the time? What are you going to use it for 20% of the time? And let's build something for the 80% that is capable enough to dip the toe into the 20 that you could potentially maybe bring this scope across and put a different gun under it, or maybe not trying to buy an item for like this sort of hybrid use, bit of everything. Buy something for one of the purposes and make it work for both until you decide, I really like this, I'm going to put a gun into that, or I really like rather than ending up with an optic that won't cross, that sort of it's not good enough for either.
Yep.
Buy it for one and kind of make it work for the limited amount you might do the other one. If you really enjoy that, awesome, go out and get a setup dedicated for that.
Definitely. I think case in point was the 300 Win Mag that I was talking about that's in the carbon fibre stock. It's built as a lightweight carry rifle, but there's an element of long range to that as well.
Yeah, you could make it work for a few shots without.
Definitely.
Without
I've got an Archon first focal plane on that, which is a bit big really for a carry hunting gun potentially. Well, not big, but it's probably heavy and a bit bulky.
But you're not going out on that sort of side of things too often, are you?
Oh, I'm not fit enough to go for a week backpack hunt. I hunt from the car.
Yeah, okay.
But it's got a first focal plane scope on it. It's got a decent. I think it's got a spur mount on it. It's got some decent things on it. I run an Atlas bipod or a Skypod or something like that. We went up to Kai recently. Yeah. Doing a bit of load dev. And then I had the 300 Win Mag there, and I'm like, let's see what we can do. I got first round impacts at, I think, 560 and a kilometre, and a second round impact at a mile, I think.
Yeah, that'll work.
Second or third. One of the two, second or third. But I got first round impacts at 560
within
and a
top
kilometre.
three. Within top three, nothing.
For sure.
Nothing's a shame about top three.
But
if you're not first, you're last.
Basically, that's my motto. But yeah, that's it's not what that gun is built for, but that's what it's capable of as well, with a few compromises, I suppose. A little bit, a tiny bit more weight. Good first focal plane scope. Yep. And that's what you can do.
Fantastic, excellent, nice, mate, nice. I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, and perhaps one we don't cover enough. Where a lot of people don't see how competition stuff would relate to the hunting world. And while it's not necessarily a direct benefit, there is certainly a lot of benefits that come in from one to the other. And I think certainly I want to address that there is a whole stack of knowledge and skills in the hunting world that you're not going to learn ever at a match or a competition side of things. And that is all, it's sort of understanding the terrain, how that works with the game that you're chasing, and all those additional things. Like with many things, there's many dynamics to it. And in the competition world can teach you how to be very adaptable with your shooting and pulling the trigger and putting a round on whatever your target may be. But there's other lessons to learn.
I think so. And I think there's a few things that come close to the heart rate and the rush of blood when you've got a fantastic buck in your sights or something like that, as to when you're shooting a PRS or a time stage, and then the beep goes and your game plan goes out the window and your heart rate's up and you're like, what was I doing here again? It's good training.
That is true. And I think, not that I haven't shot deer, so I'll talk back into the spotlighting world, which is where most of my hunting has been, but I think that the time frames, in a PRS match and that sort of thing, often you get to a fox scenario and you're like, I've got ages. Yeah. Because within seconds you are behind the gun and bolt down and you're on the thing and you're like, all right, well, I'll just track him until he stops, or I'll yell and make him pull up, or actually I'm comfortable with that shot, and whatever it might be. And it really, I definitely noticed the difference prior, and then after, sort of after spending some time doing it, you go, I've got so much time here. Yeah, it can comparative because you're so used to sort of having to make it happen so quickly.
Even the follow-up shot. It's not something you necessarily practice in hunting a lot, but
that's true.
In a competition environment, like a follow-up shot critical. Is, when you look at a stage or something like that, you often get two shots at a target or two shots from a position or something like that, and you want to hit the first one, but if you don't hit the second one, you walk away disappointed. Sure. Because you've got all of the information that you needed from the first shot, and the second shot should be an impact.
I walk away disappointed quite often, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It's great for that sort of stuff. I mean, if you do miss the first one or you don't get a clean shot or something like that, the follow-up shot is there, for sure. And I think the other thing is, it's really hard to practice hunting without hunting.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, I probably fire in the range of 10,000 rounds a year or something like that between all of the
More
things that I
flexing
do.
going on over the other side of the
reckon.
table there.
Come on,
Just stretch
come
out.
on.
Title of the podcast is flexing.
Right. Cool.
You can't get that sort of trigger time. Like some people go hunting and they might fire
Yeah.
10 shots a year.
Yeah.
You can't compete with that level
Sure.
of trigger time.
Absolutely. That's what ingrains it into you. Absolutely. Another thing that I know you've done recently that I wanted to ask about was you told me you went PRS shooting or stuff or doing some testing with a pump gun.
We did.
Yeah. So tell me all about that. What was going on?
So last weekend we were lucky enough, Nick from Ignition Custom, Dave and myself, Nick got sent the gun, but WFA, the Warwick Firearms, are now making the for the lever, what do you call it?
Straight
Straight pull, not lever release. Thank you.
Okay.
The straight pull, the WFA 1, I think it is.
Oh, so it's not pump action. I've missed that up.
They were. Well, Nick makes a kit that
Oh, that's
the
what I'm
forward
thinking of.
the forward assist bolt something or other, the far bar kit.
Some name.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So they've done 2 to 3s up until now.
Okay.
And they're about to release a 308.
Right.
I think it's got about a 16.5-inch barrel.
Okay.
And it's also got a 1 in 9 or 9.5 twists.
Okay. That's all right.
So it's good for some heavies.
Yeah.
So Nick's got I think he's got the first production model or the first pre-production model that's been made.
Yep.
Asked to do some testing and see how it works. So he let us know beforehand. We went out to the range and we bought some 308 ammo for other things to see how it works. Not factory. This is target stuff for target rifles.
Sure.
We put on a red dot to start with and decided to run some PRS stages and film it
With a red dot.
with a red dot.
How'd you go?
We didn't embarrass ourselves.
Is that because you guys were the only one there and no one filmed it? So therefore,
No, it was it's on video. I don't know if Nick's going to release.
so-
Yeah, it's all been videoed.
Yeah,
so
right.
I expect
Proof.
some of the highlights might make their way to the internet.
Josh, has OnlyFans got a stance on guns? Is this
Do some research.
Do you mean like guns or?
more flexing going on from Plushy over there? Yeah, right on.
We decided to run a whole bunch of PRS-y type stages to see what this thing can actually do, and we were genuinely surprised.
Went all right.
Yeah, it went very well.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of in terms of accuracy, or in terms of feel and speed, or sort of overall.
We were surprised with the works actually. So
Okay.
to start with the red dot, we were nailing pig-sized silhouette targets at 300 meters, which is not small.
It's not worth.
You're talking a
It's a solid sized target, but also it's not.
the red dot was about 4 MOA, so it's not it's not an easy thing where you could hold. You could favour left or favour right of the pig sort of thing.
Sure.
We were consistently hitting that. Nick took his Gen 2 Razor off of one of his rifles and whacked on there, and we started impacting at 500 meters, and consistently impacting at 500 meters. And mind you,
like into what sort of range? Yeah.
there's a ram at 500 meters, and then we've got a gong that's about 500 millimeters ish.
Okay.
500 meters.
Yeah,
It's not tiny.
It's
not tiny.
crazy,
but we're talking a rifle that's had no load development or anything like that done like it.
Okay.
Just basically throwing factory rounds through it.
Yep.
And it was, we all sort of weren't taking it seriously to start with, and then we started getting impacts. And
did it start going a bit quiet? You're like, oh, hang on.
we started getting a little bit competitive, going, oh, hang on a second here, we can actually hit
Wait,
most of these.
you getting competitive?
No, not at all.
With Nick and Dave Taylor? No.
Not at all.
No, you guys wouldn't be like that.
No, I was. I think Dave and I were discussing that I didn't know I needed one of these things today. But for a pig rifle or something like that for out the back of a ute or something like that, you couldn't go wrong.
Yeah, well, I guess horses for courses, isn't it? Like that's what you're going to be expecting it to do, and if it can shoot pretty solidly by the sounds of it in that environment, it will be it's obviously contender.
Yeah, definitely. We messed around with it a little bit and made a few little modifications to make it run faster, and we started doing the 3 shots in 10 seconds type thing, and we were getting
At 500.
At 300, we were messing around with that.
Okay.
With the red dot.
It's a more sensible distance
with
to
the red
be
dot.
doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we were getting 3 shots in sub 8 seconds. That's 3 impacts in sub 8 seconds.
Right.
And that was shot.
You weren't just like stacking projectiles in front of just trying to shoot them in one go. No. Okay.
Yeah, it turned from a bit of a goofy session into a bit of a serious session.
What can we achieve?
Yeah, what can we actually do here? It was good fun actually.
Nice.
we got a few randoms pulled in that had never. I'm one of those. I put my hand up in the air that I'd never used an AR style anything before, and I was goofy with mag releases and bulk carrier releases and all sorts of stuff. But after half an hour or an hour of using it, it seemed pretty familiar.
Yeah, okay.
It only weighs about 3.5 kilos maybe.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So we put a sling on it, and I'm a terrible sling shooter. If anybody knows, seen me shoot a sling, I am useless.
I know anyone riding Monado matches, sling stages. That's how you're going to get him. That's going to stop him from winning a centerfire match.
Side note: I posted in the in Butters the Northern Territory Practical Rifle Facebook page.
Yeah.
I read the match book after I decided I wasn't going, and Butters, COVID did me a favour because I was not going to do well in that match.
I can't wait to hear back from Andy about that match.
There was, back we did a couple of sling stages, and I was getting a 6, 7 out of 10 impacts, which I do not do with a sling normally. I was actually genuinely surprised.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's nice to that's Australian made, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to get hands on with that sort of stuff and hear how it's going. Because obviously for people running big guns and that sort of they're not super cheap, are they? They're like they're not stupidly expensive.
They're low $3,000.
Okay, so they're a fair investment, but for a well made gun that's not ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I haven't had much to do with them. I've not shot them.
That
before.
was my first. Yeah, that was my first time. Yeah.
I've seen them and handled them. They look nice.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think having the option to use the straight pull or the forward assist.
So it turns it basically into like a pump action.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
so you can use either or. Yeah, and you can depending on your position, you can have your hand forward and use the pump, or you can use the
So you can have both sort of setups attached.
Yes.
And you can use either without interference.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Yeah, right. That sounds.
We even put one of Nick's. What does he call it?
Here's the real story, Josh.
The turtle.
We even got
what does he call those? His bags?
The
Boris bag or the turtle bag, tortoise bag or something.
Yep.
Attach that underneath the pump and tried. Yeah, it was fun.
Wait, so onto the handle?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So you've got this big heavy bag as the hand. Are you just like pushing on the barricade and pulling it back?
Yes, that's exactly what we did. And we were, I think at that point we were looking at we were doing the PRS skill stage 2.
Of course
stage.
you were, on a solid barricade that doesn't move.
Yeah,
the bag's going to be, they're really heavy bags and they're not going to move at all.
But the back of the rifle does.
Oh, I like it.
We had good fun. We felt like teenagers, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen them used before in quite a few videos, and they just look really cool to play with. Like I've seen them, I can't remember where, but do some run and gun type stuff running through the field, and you can just hammer away with them.
Yeah.
It was great, and especially now in 308, you can actually start to use it on something a bit bigger.
Well, that's it. The 2D3 works really well for some smaller stuff, but I think in those pump or straight book sort of options, 308's a heavy hitter for pigs. Pigs and potentially some goats, although they seem to be worth a bit too much these days. But but some pigs, certainly that's a pretty sweet setup. I always wanted to years ago, this is pre-PRS, just generally when we're starting in the long range side of things, I always wanted to build a 300 Win Mag pump action off like a Remy 7600 or something on those lines, just to see what one of those just to see what we could do type projects.
Well, there's I think it's a Vernie Karen rifle, which is a lever release.
Another one.
They do those in 300 Win Mag.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm not sure.
I have lost all interest in it.
I'm
by
not
the
sure
way.
if
I'm not picking the project up now.
I keep looking at those every now and again. They pop. I think, that would be fun. Really expensive, but fun.
I wanted to put like big long barrel. I wanted to see like if we could get it to precision rifle type quality level type. Really, really nice.
I think off the back of the fun that we had, but the results that we had, Warwick Firearms are now. I think they're putting together one with a heavy 24-inch barrel. And it's being sent down to Nick in the next few weeks.
Okay.
And we're going to go and have some fun and see. I think we're going to go up to Kaikai is the plan and see what you see if we can get this thing out to a mile or not.
Yeah, that'd be mad. It's 20 because that starts throwing out the in terms of like a pig gun, obviously too heavy, too big a barrel. It's not really the feel of it. What was it like from a balance point of view?
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, we're using 8 to 10 kilo rifles often enough as competition guns. And
okay, so anything's going to feel amazing.
Oh man, it felt so good. It was just like my arms aren't falling off after 3 shots. No, it was actually really good. It was well balanced.
Okay.
Put the sling on it, and you can lock it in. You can lock them in pretty tight. It had a brake on it.
Yep.
And it was really, I would have put 120, 150 rounds through it
Okay, so you
over the course
just
of
had
an
a really
afternoon.
good session then.
We put maybe 350, 400 rounds down it without touching it. It was pretty hot. And it was fun.
Fantastic, mate. Nice. Very good. So, moving on, because the straight pulls are interesting. But while you're here, I wanted to take the opportunity because you're one of the better shooters kicking around, certainly in SA, one of the really good shooters. Some stuff that you've learnt this year. Now, this year has been a bit of a patchy year. Obviously, no big comps and not very many small comps last year. Into a year where, and you won the championship of the club last year, despite my best efforts of throwing you off in the finale.
I haven't forgotten that.
Have we covered that on the podcast at all, Josh?
I don't think we have properly.
All right, so I'm sure we've talked about it, but you're here now, so we'll revisit it. But I think the finale came up for the club last year, and you couldn't be beaten. I think you're right. I think you was far enough ahead that there was no way.
I don't think anybody else had enough wins.
And that's the other. Yeah, that's the other thing is we had scaled back with the finale value. So that was prior to you.
It was just a match win,
and
wasn't it? It wasn't a double match or something. Yeah,
there was no additional points on there, and I think thinking back, we probably would have changed that. But anyway, you got to a point where you couldn't be beaten, and so therefore, it was a bit of a null and void match for you. So I thought to try and keep it interesting and try and to test you and make you work harder. Every stage had a caveat to it, and it wasn't directly targeted at you. It was randomly targeted by varying things, and depending on what car you drive, with the license plate that you had, or whether or not you worked for a particular company or not. And so if you worked for this particular company, you had 30 seconds less for your stage, or if you drove a particular car, you would have to shoot the further targets, not the closer ones. And so somehow all of those little caveats to every stage with the extra thing all lined up for you to shoot it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It was phenomenal. And so you probably ended up with about a 30 or 40% harder match than others to try and push you, and you didn't come first.
I think I came about
fourth.
Fourth, was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't by many points.
This is sort of a result that I would remember. So I do remember that. But anyway, that was 2020. It was good fun. You took it in your stride. You did well. And I remember you saying to me a couple of days after, you dropped my place one day about a week after, and you looked at me and you're like, I could have won that, couldn't I? And I said, yes. I said, everything was written so it would make you work for it, but everything was still available to you. And you're like, I should have tried harder.
Yeah, I remember I had fun.
Yeah.
But I didn't take it too seriously, and I got to the end and went, if I'd actually taken that seriously, I still would have won.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because it gave some confidence. But anyway, the point being, so that was 2020. There's not a lot. And then 2021, obviously, we're gearing up for a good year. We had the first PRS match in there, and we've shot some matches through. But I'm curious to know, sort of, you had that build up to a new series, and then the series has sort of been on the edge the whole time through, just that carrot dangled in front of us, unobtainable though so far. Has there been some stuff you've learnt this year, or that you've implemented this year, that you've actually found has been, that you've discovered, or something new that's been had an effect on your shooting?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So I've given you no premise on any of these questions previously.
I think there's a couple of things that, probably two major things. One, I haven't got all of the gear, but I've got a lot of the gear.
Okay.
And I've really tried hard to not get to a match and go, I might use that, as opposed to going out and today I'm gonna train with, whether it's what we call them cheater plates or gamer plates or anything like that, or my tripod or one of my bags or anything. Like I've really gone, I'm going to train with that today. Okay. And then when I get to a stage, I'm like, I want to use that, and that.
Yep.
That it's not like how they're going to work together or something like that. It comes as a bit more of a second nature.
So just to interrupt you quickly, which is obviously the best way to run a podcast, you talk about, so you might train with this for a day, and then you train for that day, and then when you get to a comp, you're like, oh, we're on these 3 items together. Do you train with those 3 items together? Do you train individually and then also like combine the stuff?
I do, but I've found that singling out an item to become intimately familiar with it makes it easier to throw in a random combination on the day to overcome an obstacle or something like that.
Sure.
If you don't have to think about it, if you just know the bag flipped on this angle or the tripod leg at this angle or anything like that is going to help me here, it makes a huge difference. I've kind of focused on, we can use tripods for things. And a lot of the trouble you have with tripods is you've got to deploy on the clock or they're time heavy because it takes you time to move them and things like that. Is speeding up the things that I can speed up so I can use the tripod as a rear support or something like that to make steady positions. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I've been doing, really, really focusing on the last probably 6 weeks, I've never been a holdover person with my reticle.
Okay.
I've always, every opportunity, if I can dial a stage, I'll dial a stage.
Yep.
And I've really dialed it back.
I got it. Josh, did you pick that up?
Keep it like that. No, I've sort of been not letting myself dial and forcing myself to hold over. And it's actually really opened up my eyes to how much time I wasted dialing. Okay. It's really, really sped things up.
This is another topic actually has come up on TikTok recently. We've been engaging with a lot of shooters on TikTok, and it was about the holding and dialing question. What causes you to make a decision that you're going to hold or dial for a particular stage? Is there a particular rule you follow?
Previously, I would almost dial exclusively and go, okay, if I only get 7 shots of my 10 shots off, I'm going to get 7 good shots.
Yeah.
And the I guess the drive or the motivation to be more competitive, we're talking about at the pointy end, 5 points over a 160-point weekend is the difference potentially between first and fifth or something like that.
Absolutely.
So looking for ways that I can get a couple of those points to be more competitive. How can I shave time? How can I have more time to get those last 3 shots off? That's been the driver for me to go, what can I do? And I started practicing holdovers, and all of a sudden now I'm feeling confident of, you finish a stage with 15 seconds left rather than burning the time down on a club match, which I know is going to equal more shots off at a higher level of competition.
Sure. Yep. Okay. So are you holding everything now, or when would it make sense for you to dial?
So my general rule of thumb at the moment is, if I'm shooting a set distance, I'll dial. Sure. There's no reason not to. But if I've got it all comes down to time. If I think I've got time to get all my shots off, and dial, I probably would. But if you're like, that's a bit tight on time, there's 3, 4, 5 target distances.
We'll go that quickly.
Like, okay, cool. And then especially when the target sizes are a little bit generous, that's good. I mean, I run a Tremor 3.
Okay.
And every time, you go to a PRS match and they say, this is a no dial stage. You're like, this is not going to go well. And then I know what my wind dots on my Tremor 3 mean. They equal 70 miles per hour and all this sort of stuff.
How much?
70 miles per hour.
70 miles per hour.
Not 70. I said so many.
Oh,
I thought you said 70.
I heard 70. I'm
wow.
like, I have not. Combination. I've not seen that reticle. That sounds amazing. 2, what range are you shooting at? And 3, why isn't the comp cancelled? Okay.
Yeah, and then
so many miles.
So many. Yeah, I just can't talk. Sorry. But you do it, and you're like, you'd send. You shoot at say 500 meters, and there's 2 wind dots covering the target, and you're like, that's 4 to 8 miles an hour. If I send it, that's bracketed over the target. You get an impact, or if you miss, you've got instant feedback to tell you approximately what miles per hour. Equivalent at 90 degrees, it is. Yep. And I think I should be practice that. I never did, and more recently I've started doing it, and it's really, really good. It's quick.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Huh. And that I mean, people often hear quick and they think less accurate. But what you are doing by saving times on stuff that is secondary to pulling the trigger, you can get on target and pull that trigger with as much time as you need to make that perfect, because you're not spending it in other areas.
Yeah, I think my philosophy is I won't pull a shot at a target I'm not happy with. So if it takes me 5 seconds to get a good position, I'll take 5 seconds.
Yep.
So it's the difference between getting some of my shots off versus all of my shots off, because I've got that extra time to take the time to get a good position and to get a steady shot and break a good shot.
Okay, interesting. Now, I'm sure I interrupted you about 14 times about some of the stuff you'd also learned, but you talked about like practicing with a particular item for a day. You talked about getting really comfortable with holding. Was there anything else that's sort of been key this year?
They're probably the main things.
Okay.
Yeah, I've started doing a little bit of dry fire practice.
Okay. Started.
So
it's not something you've done much of?
Never.
You should go into quarantine with Andy. Apparently that's all they do. Yeah.
It's a really good. It actually gets some. The number one thing I've found was I didn't have a particularly good trigger pull. So you'd be on and then you'd pull the trigger and it wasn't on the target when you finished your follow through.
Interesting.
Which was something that I wasn't aware of.
You've got backgrounds in F class. You've got background in air rifle, if I remember correctly.
No,
that's Greg Hamilton.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
who got you into back into shooting.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm mixing up two backgrounds there, but they're slightly connected. But you've got a background in F class.
Yeah, which is no rifle contact, no shoulder contact.
Right.
You touch the style that I shot. You touch the trigger and you don't.
So you don't touch anything.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, now that you're gripping the rifle a lot more, that trigger perhaps is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
Which
can
is something to be a bit aware of.
Mm.
There is no did I break a bad shot? Was that a bad load? Did wind get me or anything like that? You pulled a good shot or a bad shot.
Mm. Fantastic, mate. Excellent. What are you looking forward to? What's next on the cards for your shooting development?
Oh, just entering matches and
winning them,
and then getting refunded matches and getting t-shirts, paying for flights. and getting
PRS
refunded
2021.
For flights and paying for accommodation and luckily getting refunded accommodation.
Yeah, just putting just loaning some money out and having it come back.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm getting a really good t-shirt collection.
You and me both, actually. Yeah, it's good.
I feel like we're going to have 2 t-shirt releases. The cancelled across the back, and we got to run one.
I think we need to invest in a stamp, like a red cancelled stamp that as the shirts go out, you can stamp the shirt. Yeah, limited edition cancelled version. Yeah.
Mm. What else have I been doing? Spending money on things, anticipating I was going to shoot and then didn't shoot.
Oh yeah, it's been a battle. We'll hope we will get there eventually.
Hopefully,
take some time.
Yeah,
we'll get
I think we focus on club level matches in the meantime and
absolutely
make the most of those. I think there's plenty of talk amongst the guys that if we can't shoot national level, we're going to shoot plenty of state level type stuff. And I think there's already talk of a couple of one day matches or things like that later in the year, which will be good.
Perfect. It's a good way to be. Absolutely. Excellent. All right, Plushy. Well, thank you very much for coming in and actually talking some sensible stuff that people can learn rather than whatever Andy and I normally dish up.
I say it's been a very different podcast.
It's been a lot I've learnt stuff.
Thanks for listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast. To continue the discussion, check out our Facebook page. And for more information, head to our website, www.precisionshootingpodcast.com.au. This episode was brought to you by Impact Dynamics.